Hello my dear friends, and welcome back to another very exciting Star Wars Skeleton Crew video. It is I, your favourite galactic hostess, Star Wars Meg, and I've got another very fun one for you today. We're going to be speculating on some more Skeleton Crew details, what could be in store in the final 2 episodes, and we're also going to look at 1 or 2 clues from past episodes that could play into episodes 7 and 8. I'm super hyped. So for our first topic, we have a massive tease for episode 7 from the director Lee Isaac Chung himself. He said this back in October with Empire magazine, but because we had no context to what he was talking about, we didn't realize how poignant and serious what he was saying was. Each director had to describe their episode in as few words as possible. Bryce Dallas Howard said, friendship. John Watts said, beginning and end. And Chung says, oh shoot, this is hard. It gets real. Things get real. It's a race for At Attin, guys, and I think it's going to be very fast-paced. This is the Jod episode. More on this later on. But first, an insane theory about episode 6 that will absolutely blow your mind. There is a member of Captain Brutus's crew who was very important in this last episode, and the reason Jod was able to give his speech and convince them of the existence of At Attin and the Old Republic Mint. I'm talking about the character Chelt, the female pirate who invoked the pirate code and insisted Jod had right to equal time. Now here's what's fascinating. It came across as though she really felt for him, she felt sorry for what he'd been through, and she has a big heart, wanted to give him a second chance. But one theory I came across changes the framing of this scene. I said in my full episode breakdown, why didn't Jod use the Force? Well, maybe he did. Maybe while he was sat with handcuffs, he mind-tricked her, used her as a pawn to plead for his innocence, used one of Brutus's closest confidants against him. It's a clever theory and I really like it, because up until this point there was no indication in the show that Jod and Chelt had a close friendship. It's another reason I'm hoping we get a visual guide for this show, just some more general information about this pirate crew and their history. And so now, my dear friends, staying on the subject of Skeleton Crew, we're actually going back a couple of weeks. As we approach the penultimate episode, I've seen a couple of comments asking, are we going to return to At Attin? Does that world have a bigger purpose than the role it played in episode 4? Jod had the wrong coordinates. Our heroes thought they were going to At Attin, but instead, they went to another jewel of the Old Republic, At Attin. Almost identical to At Attin, but demolished by warfare. And we were left with so many questions. Are any of those going to be answered? And was there a greater purpose for this planet as we approach the season's end? Or perhaps in season 2? We got to see one of the other jewels of the Old Republic. One of the ones Kh'ymm said was destroyed. It had certainly faced warfare and turmoil, but now fans are wondering if Jod is going to have a redemption arc. Could by the end of the season, he mislead Brutus and his crew to At Attin instead of At Attin? There has been the major question, how are they going to reconcile things between Jod and the kids? It has been semi-spoiled by one of the trailers that there is going to be a sort of reunion, but how is that going to be facilitated? I've shared my own theory about the start and the end of the show being connected, but I'm also starting to think, what if it's the children who are going to save Jod? They end up going to At Attin, and like I say, who knows, maybe Brutus is going to be misled by Jod. Whatever the situation may be, we're going to find out in a couple of days. But then it dawned on me, the planets which are the jewels of the Old Republic have a specific naming system, one which might hint at their significance. The names of the worlds have associations with various mythological traditions. In a previous video, I spoke about how At Attin could have been named after Acheron from Alien, the LV-426 dangerous moon base. Others have suggested maybe it's named after the Greek mythological river of woe, the Acheron, one of the 5 rivers that surrounds the underworld, also known as the place of lost souls. And by the same logic, the showrunners may have named these other planets deliberately based on real-world mythology, and this in turn can tell us what those planets are like, some of their physical attributes. At Attin might have been named after the Egyptian deity Attin. The word means disk, which referred to anything flat and circular, specifically the sun, known back then as the disk of the day, where the god Ra was thought to reside. What gets very interesting is when you look into Attinism, the specific theology and philosophy of those who are adherents to Attin. It was a monotheistic faith. they dismissed all authorities except for worship of the solar deity, the one true authority. Does this sound familiar? Doesn't this sound exactly like the supervisor? The name At Attin in Skeleton Crew could be tied to a society where only one person is in authority, and all knowledge beyond him is unavailable to its residents. An even crazier similarity between Attin and the supervisor in Skeleton Crew is that both entities never spoke directly to their people. In ancient Egyptian mythology, there is only one known instance of the Attin talking. Another parallel, in Attinism, the sky is very important. In Skeleton Crew, the barrier of At Attin is in the sky. And so the metaphor applies to the barrier, the great work, and following the sole directive and guidance of the one supervisor. A similar naming pattern emerges with the other jewels that were mentioned. Atakoda could be associated with the Koda dynasty, also known as the Chola dynasty, an Indian dynasty that comes from a long line of military commanders. So there could be warfare just like on At Attin. Then we have Atarisia, which is very possibly named after the ancient city in Italy. Arisia, also known as Aricia, was vital in both Roman and pre-Roman mythology. It was, however, conquered by the Romans and had a lot of its political power taken away, often known as a city without the vote. This could reflect the situation on Atarisia in Star Wars. It could be an authoritarian place, where the people don't have a voice in how their society is run. Then there's Ataravin, similar to Acheron. In Welsh mythology, there is an underworld figure known as Aron, connected to the supernatural realm of the dead, a metaphysical concept that also features across Celtic tradition. Some have suggested Ataravin could be linked to Arvins from Santhorian mythology, because that figure was a hunter. Ataravin might be a hunter-gatherer society. Aitu is a Polynesian term for malevolent and evil demon spirits. But as you can see, apart from At Attin, the names of the other jewels of the Old Republic have very negative associations tied to them. Ever since Star Wars began, stories from different cultures, mythology and legends have always played a part in the zeitgeist of Star Wars storytelling. Even as recently as Ahsoka in 2023, the names of Baylan Skoll and Shin Hati inspired by wolves from Norse mythology, and even Thrawn's captain Enoch, inspired by the biblical figure. So I think there's also a good chance they've done a very similar kind of thing for Skeleton Crew. But now as we go into the final 2 episodes, it's truly been set up as the race back to At Attin. And there's another character who I think is going to re-emerge, Kh'ymm, the elf from episode 3. The New Republic is still on Crimson Jack's tail. They're tracking down pirates in the hyperspace lanes, and it should be mentioned, at the end of the 3rd episode, Kh'ymm tells KB, "If you ever need my help, don't be afraid to call." But if something goes wrong with the kids, and maybe KB doesn't have the coordinates, as she believes she did, maybe now that she has a new metal fuse, maybe that data got corrupted or something, then they may need to call upon Kh'ymm. That's how I think she's going to play into the final 2 episodes. But what do you guys think? Share your thoughts on everything we spoke about in the comments down below. Are you looking forward to episode 7 on Tuesday night? And if you enjoyed this video, please be sure to give me a big fat thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, check me out on socials, and may the Force be with you, always.